Hello and welcome to this tutorial on using multi-sub object materials and effectively using them with render to texture. This is a tutorial to kind of help people who maybe aren't really strong at texturing and show them ways that they can use lighting and multi-sub object textures and export them with render to texture to create a very good starting point for texturing a model in 3ds Max primarily with using Photoshop and UVW Unwrap. So to get started, I want to go over, I've got this character and I want to go over how to split them up using a multi-sub object and polygon IDs. So right now if we look at this character and we go in the polygon mode, we've got the character right now split up into different elements. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to select everything and I'm going to set these IDs to 1. So this is polygon material IDs, which will these numbers that we have here will work directly with IDs that we have here in 3ds Max when we're using multi-sub object. So the first one that I have is going to be defined basically as skin. So I'm going to come up here into my material editor. This is just the compact editor. And instead of using the standard material, I'm going to use a multi-sub object material. So I'll click that and click OK. I'm going to keep the old material that I had because that's going to put the standard one that I had there in for me already. And I'll delete everything else except for number 1. So this first one is going to be labeled as skin, and what I'll do is just simply make my diffuse color something kind of a skin tone, so something like this, maybe a little lighter. Okay, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to apply this multi-sub object material to my character. So you can see everything, since it's ID 1, so everything that was selected here is under ID 1, that lines up with this ID being 1 and is called skin. And something else I can see here is in this naming, my skin name shows up here as ID 1. So I'm going to add a new material, and for this, let's say I'll do my character's hat as ID 2. So I'll make that number 2 and I'll call this hat. And I'll give his hat some color. Let's say his hat is a brown. Maybe like a brown kind of khaki color. Okay, so now we see the hat turns brown, and we'll keep that. So again, I can add another ID, and I can add in a bunch of IDs if I want and just use that. But I just kind of add them in as I'm using them. So another element that I can easily get to is my glasses here. So I'll select my glasses as an element, and I will set them to ID 3. And then here I will type in glasses, and I'm going to leave that as just a kind of a gray color. That's fine for what I'm doing. So I'm going to add another material, and let's say this one will be the character's shirt. So now I'll just select, or deselect rather, everything that's not shirt. So I'm going to go back to polygon mode. You may find it easier to change your selection type here to lasso. So I can come in here, hold Alt, and deselect anything that's not the shirt. So I'll just select this all out. Okay. It's pretty good there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, definitely making sure I'm selecting everything perfect just for this demo. So we got the pants here. Actually, that deselected pretty good. Okay, so that'll be his shirt. So I'll set that to ID 4. I'll call this shirt, just to keep track, and I'll change this to ID number 4. And I'll make his shirt, let's say, blue. And I'll hit OK. And now I'm able to see that his shirt is blue. So I've got to do the pants and the shoes. So next I'll do is pants. So I'm actually, oh, it doesn't do there. So redo that. So now I'll do just the pants. So I'll select this entire element again, and this time deselecting anything up here. Oh, make sure you're in polygon mode. And we'll see how we did there. Not too bad. So just deselect this part here on the bottom. Alright, that's the pants. Those are going to be ID number 5. So I'll do add, we'll call this pants, and change this to ID 5. Make sure you type in this number in set ID, not select ID. Okay, so I'll make this, let's say he's got on something, I'll try to make something kind of denim-y looking. That's pretty close to kind of denim. Should have made the shirt really a different color, but that's fine. Okay, so now we've got that. Let's add another ID. So we'll add. And this one, we'll just do his shoes. And we'll just make his shoes, let's make them like a really dark gray. So I'll select the shoes, and those will be set to ID number 6 for the shoes. And then I'll add another, and this will be his soles and his laces. I'm going to have them be the same color. They're basically going to be white, so I'll just put laces, and I'll just make sure to make both of them the same color. So I'll do a little bit lighter there, and start off by deselecting top part of the shoe here, and go back into element mode and add in these laces that are also separate elements. Okay, those are going to be ID number 7. And add in the eyes. And I'll do the eyes as a separate one, even though they're going to be mostly white. I want them to be separate, so I'll have this be eyes. This number 8. This part will be white, and I'm actually going to make this one self-illuminate quite a bit. Alright, and we'll make this number 8 to go along with eyes. Then I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'll select just the vertices here. I'll hold Control and click Polygon, which will select the inner part of the eye, the pupil. I'm going to grow my selection, and I'm going to make this number 9. And this will be called Iris. This will be a dark brown because this character has dark brown eyes. and that's number 9, so I'll make these 9. But he'll also have a black pupil, so I'll shrink my selection now. So I just have that part. I'll add a new material. Move this up here. This will be pupil, and this will be black. And that'll be number 10. Alright. I'm going to use the same color I have for my eye, for the eyebrow, and for this bit of hair that I have here. So if I turn on my shaded and wireframe mode, edged faces, sorry, be able to see my sideburn area here. Let's see if it's easier if I select the head. No, not really. Let's have to do this. Let's see. Might actually be easier if I select the entire element and then deselect what I don't want. So I'm not needing any of this, and don't need any of this. I'm going to toggle this over just for my crossing here to not deselect some of this. Let's see if I can get the rest of this in the front view for the most part. Thank you if you just said bless you to me, you nice person. Alright, let's see what we're looking at here. I'll just deselect this by hand. Alright. Is that how I have that on the other side? Yeah. Alright, I think that basically covers all the hair parts. And then I'll select the eyes. Actually, I'll do this part after. So this is going to be using the same part as the iris. So I can drop down in here and just come to iris in case I happen to... Oh, that was select ID. I want to set that to 9. I could drop this down and see that it was 9. So I'll just select this part of the eyebrow and grow my selection. And that's his massive eyebrows. Those will also be 9. I think that might do it for the most part for this character. Okay, so I've got my multi-sub object material set up here with the 10 different IDs, and those help me just set base colors to my character. Let me turn off edge faces here so we can kind of see what I got. So now I'm able to see what this looks like whenever I render. So if I just click render, I get my lonely little man here. Now the problem is he doesn't really have any shadow information here. So what I can do is just simply go to my lights, go to my standard lights, go to a skylight, and just drop that in. I don't have to center it anywhere. If it makes me feel better, I can put it in the middle of my scene, but it's not going to really do me any good. The skylight doesn't really so much work off of its position. So now if I render, I get this. I gotta turn on my shadows. So come back to the settings, turn on shadows, watch it again, and this should give me something that looks a little nicer, a little more pleasant. I might turn my multiplier down a little bit, mess with my settings, but really I just want to see what this looks like. And what I'm looking for is that if this looks relatively nice in the render, it's going to come out pretty nice also when I render to texture. The render to texture is going to keep all of my shadow information into my texture. And this is usually something that works very nice for starting textures, at the very least with game design. So I kind of like everything I'm seeing here. So now that I have that, I'm going to throw one other light in. Typically your character's face is lit up just a little bit brighter than everything else, so I'll leave this at the 1. I'm going to turn on far attenuation, and I'm going to have this pretty much engulf the most of his face, and then I'll have it fall off to just beyond his head. Alright, so now if I look at this, oops, and I render, his face is going to be just slightly brighter. And that's just to highlight that on the character's face. Might be lighting the underneath part of the hat a little too much, but I can kind of live with that if it makes the face look the way I want it to. It's taking forever. Yeah, it's going to give me too much of a hot spot. Alright, I'll set this to 0.3, so I'll hit escape to cancel the render. And I'll turn this light down to 0.3, and I'll also move it away from the brim of the hat. I mostly want to light up the cheeks and nose of my character, and I'll turn the end of the attenuation down even more. So just kind of, we'll start with the ears a little bit. So hit render and see what this looks like. Very exciting. Nothing like watching something render real time. We're almost there. Almost there. There's some eyebrow. This is like how images would load on the internet in the 90s. A lot of traps back in the 90s. Alright, so this gives me a little bit of a highlight here on the forehead, the bridge of the nose, is going to be lit up a little bit, and the cheeks will be lit up a little. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel my render, and now I'm going to set up my render to texture. Now what I need to make sure is that this character is unwrapped. Hopefully they are. I thought they were unwrapped before I started this, but now that I think back, who knows? So parts are unwrapped. The hat's not completely unwrapped. That's fine. I could delete that really if I wanted to. So maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll select the hat. Not that I really advocate using any sort of automatic unwrap, but just for this demo, I'll do that. So I think I'll do set that to 0.001, and I'll hit OK, and that should pack in the hat. And again, this isn't good unwrapping by any means, but it's going to allow me to get on with the demo here. Looks like I have to do the same thing with the shoes. So I'll just put another flatten on there, same setting, and move that to the side. Anything else? What is this? Aw, man, really? I don't have the arm? Okay. Yuck. At this point I might as well just flatten, unmap everything. What is this gonna be? Yeah. How did I not know that? Alright. Again, not ideal, but just for the sake of this and getting on with it, it'll work. So now I'll select everything and I'll pack my UVs in. So I'll pack those in. I'm going to change that a little bit, make it a little closer together. Let's see. Alright, so there's everything in. Really, it's a garbage unwrap, but we'll kind of look at how the face looks down here. And it's upside down. That's not really a problem. If it bothers you and you want to change things, you can rotate this around so that the face is pointing upward. Okay, so I'll close that out. I've got my unwrap done. Convert this to an editable poly. That'll bake my UV settings in there. I'm going to save just so I have that. So now we'll go to rendering, render to texture. Let's change our name so this isn't just box. So we'll just call this guy J, and we'll hit enter. So that's J. I don't want to use automatic unwrapping because I spent so much time unwrapping, so we'll do use existing channels in our map coordinates. And then I've got what type of outputs, what is it that I want to render out. So if I go to add, I want my complete map, just to have that, diffuse, and shadows. I'll start with those. There's the other ones here and you can kind of mess around with those, but let's just start with that. I don't want these to be 256, that's pretty tiny. So I'll select each one of these and I'll do 1024. That's going to be enough for what I'm doing. I also need to say where to put these. So my J complete map, I'll just put that in the same folder. So I'll just save it in as a target, that's fine. 32, yes. Did that say compressed? I don't want it to be compressed. Okay, 32 bits per pixel, pre-multiplied alpha. I'll hit OK. Then you can just kind of go in and copy this location, come to your other ones, and just paste that in front. That'll paste them directly into the same area, or it'll render them into the same area. I don't actually go through and bake the material out. I don't output into source. I don't save it. I don't create a new bake. Really, I'm using this. I just want to render the files only. So I'm going to keep the source materials. So now if I click render, what we'll see happen is we get our render window that pops up, and this is going to take a little while, but what it'll end up doing is all those nice multi-sub object materials that I went through and I had applied, it's going to render those out directly over top of my textures. If I want to keep from getting any sort of black lines around here, I'll need to change my padding. So I'm going to hit escape. This is going to say, yeah, failure. I'm going to change my padding from 2 to, let's just do 8. What this means is it's going to basically bleed out my colors a little bit further. That way I don't get so many seam lines. So render this again. It's going to ask me, do I want to overwrite? Of course. Why wouldn't I? And we'll see what this mostly looks like here in the face. So we'll take a look at that part as it happens. And that's basically all there is to this. You set up your IDs, you render the texture. Then it's all about bringing each one of these images into Photoshop, overlay them one over another, and change your multiply, your screen settings, and it'll give you a nice starting point for this, but it kind of gives you the idea of what texturing you might have to do to this. So you can see you've already got some nice highlights and things of that nature with this texture. And then all you have to do is apply this to your character after it renders out. You can use the complete map and just draw over it, but I sometimes will start with the complete map. I'll put the diffuse map that I rendered over top of this and mess with some of my output settings in Photoshop, and then I'll put my shadow over top of this, and I can kind of colorize those shadows. And by using multiply settings and by using overlay with the shadows, I can create some very nice colorful shadows on my character rather than just kind of gray and dirty gray dingy shadows. So that kind of wraps up the render to texture. With the unwrap being done, if you unwrap it nicely, with the guy's pants, I could go in and find a denim material and kind of lay this over, and again, using my different settings in Photoshop, I can make it a multiply or something and actually make these jeans kind of look more like denim. If I wanted to put a logo on the hat or on the shirt, I could do that as well. So I hope you found this useful. Please comment, subscribe, like this video. I do more of these. I'll take requests if there's something you want to see how to do it. Obviously this is not the way you want to unwrap, but just for the purposes of this video I want you to see the head was unwrapped properly for the most part, and you can see how it's turning out. So imagine the rest of the body would turn out the same way. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.